are following some breaking news out of the LA area. That is where our sister station, Fox 11 LA, says that a 4.6, possibly 4.7 magnitude earthquake has struck near Malibu. They are in continuous coverage right now, so I do want to pop up the audio and we can listen in.
No, I am not appearing. I don't appear to have any damage at this point on a first glance.
Amy, how did you, so what was your experience? How did you feel it? What were you seeing around you?
Well, okay, so I was on the phone listening to someone speak to me, and suddenly I just, I felt the jolt, and I think it went on for quite a while. It wasn't just a quick. I knew that it was much more serious because it continued for a while, and what I would describe is like a rolling motion, kind of a jerking rolling motion, much more serious than any of the recent ones in a few years. I was shocked, and I quickly interrupted. I said, "We've got an earthquake," and she said, "Yes, we feel it here." And then we ended the conversation, and so it was very, very scary.
Yeah, have you been able to see any of your neighbors or anybody that lives near you to get a pulse on how they're doing?
That's an excellent thought. Let me look outside. Let's see. No, it looks like everyone is inside versus, as we talked about, Northridge. That one was so serious. We lost, a lot of like wine bottles fell, and we immediately went outside our house and we met all of our neighbors who had done the same thing. At this point, I'm now going outside, and it looks like everybody is still inside, so that that tells us that fear factor that was there then is not here. But again, this was so serious. But it doesn't look like there's any damage, but it was very scary.
Oh, yeah, I can tell even in your voice, Amy, that you're a little shaken up by all this.
Yeah, very, very scary. And, and then the gal I was on the phone with was down in Marina Del Rey, and she said, "We're feeling it." Just to let you know also. And where I am in Malibu is near the Getty Villa. I'm near Sunset and PCH.
Okay. All right. Well, we thank you very much for your perspective this morning. Take care of yourself. And if you did notice any damage or anything on your property, if you feel inclined, share it with us so that we can share it out here on our show.
And we just are hearing word now from USGS that it's been upgraded actually to a 4.7 magnitude quake that happened this morning. If you're just joining us, 4.7 magnitude earthquake that happened in Malibu. That was the epicenter at around 7:28 this morning, with a 2.7 aftershock coming a couple of minutes later at around 7:30. And I just got an ex from Raul Fisher, who said he felt a significant jolt in Hollywood, North Hollywood as well.
Even folks in OC and Anaheim right now, that they felt it.
Apple Valley.
Apple Valley. Are we Raven West from Camarillo? Producer Bill, are we going to that on the phone? Or not yet? Okay, not yet. So if you're just waking up, I'm sure, and looking for information about the earthquake, it was a 4.7. The magnitude keeps changing. Initial reports said it was 5.1, then it went to 4.6, now it's going to 4.7. Epicenter in Malibu, about 5 miles from Westlake Village.
And now, as we understand, we have Lucy Jones, seismologist. We're going to be listening in on her.
We just got our automatic fault association through, and it's confused. It has a 40% chance of associating with the Malibu fault and 46% chance of associating with the Anacapa fault, which is not surprising. This small an earthquake, you don't directly associate it with the big fault. Again, I'll ask, several more people have joined, and remember that we're using the question and answer or the chat for questions. I also see Sue Huff has joined. You might want to come in as a panelist. You aren't going to be able to speak from where you are. So we do have one question in from Ron Lynn. Are we having more quakes recently? Yes. Whether it's statistically significant is is difficult to tell. I actually just went through a process of bringing up the last, actually 65 years of magnitude 4s. If we look back over that time period and count the number of sequences with at least one magnitude 4, that's very different than saying how many magnitude 4s do we have, because the biggest year for magnitude 4s was 1992, because we had aftershocks to the Landers earthquake. But if we look at independent sequences with at least 1 4, over the last 65 years, it averages 8 to 10. Sometimes years we have one that just had one year that had 1, several with just 2. The highest amount was 13 in 1988. This is now the 14th magnitude 4 plus sequence that we've had in Southern California in the so far this year. So yes, this is a more active year than we've had in the past. But it's not yet at the point of problem with small number statistics. We can't quite say yet that whether or not it is actually statistically significant to be seeing this. Okay, there's enough new people in. I would also remind, again, scientists, if you want to be speaking, you need to come in as a panelist and not as an attendee. So please switch that around. Sue Huff from the U.S. Geological Survey has joined us. So she's going to be available as well. I'll give an overview of it for people who just joined in. We have a magnitude 4.7 that happened at 7:28 this morning. It's located about 5 miles north of Malibu. The fault associator doesn't have a clear picture. This is not uncommon for an earthquake this small. I think to be this size earthquake is a fault area of a matter of 100 meters, maybe a few hundred meters, and that's going to be a small enough thing that's located at 7 miles below the surface of the Earth. It doesn't need to be associated with a fault that actually comes through and is mapped at the surface. So the smallest earthquakes, it's not that obvious. There are some faults nearby. The movement on the earthquake was horizontally. As here in Southern California, we can either get horizontal motion or upward motion on a dipping fault. This is the sideways motion, what we call strike-slip motion in this earthquake. So that's an overview. Sue, if you have anything to add about what's here now, please go ahead.
We should add that.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, we don't obviously.
Sue, you're muted. You muted yourself.
You'd think I would know by now. Yeah, it's obviously early. We don't have a lot of information. It's curious. The best indication of shaking severity usually comes from citizen-provided "did you feel it" accounts. There are notably few contributed to the system for an earthquake that clearly would have been felt by a lot of people. It suggests to me there may be some temporary issue with the system, but shaking was felt out to a distance of about 100 kilometers or 60 miles. Not strongly. It was relatively weak shaking that's been reported in the near field region. It should have been strong enough to maybe knock things off of shelves. We don't expect damaging shaking in the modern built environment for an earthquake like this. But clearly there's a lot more data to be collected.
Let's see, we have another question that's come in. Okay, yes, Ron points out there was another Malibu quake, also 4.6 back on February 9th. I've just been looking at those locations. They're not actually the same location. The February 9th earthquake was slightly south of Malibu offshore. This is a bit north of the coastline, and therefore a little bit north of the Malibu Fault, which pretty much runs along the coast at that point. It is, however, right, we are having earthquakes None of them have been damaging. They've all been small. We need to remember that when you have earthquakes, you tend to have earthquakes. And because the relative number of large to small are the same, having something larger, we did have the magnitude 5.2 up near just south of Bakersfield, of course, a little over a month ago. This is a really good reminder that the quiet of the last couple of decades is not our long-term picture, and we do need to be prepared. I would, just to preempt these questions, no, it's not related to the weather. It's, when it's 7 miles below the surface of the Earth, the surface weather really does not make a difference. But the and also, besides, we finally break the weather and then we get it. That you're really stretching it if you're trying to make those correlations. So let's just remember to keep that out of the discussion, please.
Can I jump in? There's two questions about the increase of seismicity. Is activity up, which it sort of seems like it is, but then what does that mean? Is that ominous? Seismicity fluctuates, and seismologists have been trying to read the tea leaves for decades, looking for patterns that precede large earthquakes, and that's never really panned out. If there is an increase, we can't, really interpret that, except for what Lucy said, that when you have a lot of earthquakes, you have a lot of earthquakes, as Charles Richter said, that earthquakes increase statistically the odds of more events. So yeah, any felt event like this, they're great reminders to take all the steps that people probably know that are helpful.
Thank you, Sue. And we have a hand up from Bob DeCastro.
Recording
Bob,
in progress.